Hey friends, it's Corey from Hey Let's Make Stuff, and I am back with another sublimation video for you. In this video, I'm talking about all of my must-have sublimation supplies, plus a bunch of things that I think are great to have but aren't necessary. These are all things beyond your printer setup. So you may have a Sawgrass or an Epson printer, you will have sublimation ink in one of those printers, and then you're also going to need sublimation paper for printing. You'll also need a heat press. I just did a video all about all of the different heat presses I have. I think there might be 10. I have quite a few. So I will go ahead and link that in the description. But you will need a heat press so that you can transfer that sublimation image to your blank. And then, what else do you need? So here on my right, I have a few must-have things that you will need for sublimation printing. To start, you're going to need sublimation tape. You do not need the fancy tape dispenser here that I have, although that can go in the nice to have pile, but you will need heat-resistant tape. So I really prefer this blue tape. So you can also get yellow tape, but I have found that the yellow tape tends to transfer its yellow color, especially onto hard blanks, and nobody wants that. So this is blue tape. This is PYD Life's tape. I like it a lot. Highly recommended. Cricut's tape is also really good, as is Artist Breeze. You will use your heat-resistant tape to tape your image to your blank. One of the things that happens in sublimation is that if your image at all shifts on your blank, it's going to ghost and create an undesirable image. So you definitely want to use a significant amount of heat-resistant tape when taping your image to your project so you don't get any of that ghosting or other issues. Next, you're going to want a lint roller. So I actually get these at Costco now because I go through them so often. You're going to want to remove any of that dust, debris, hair, anything that might be on your blank surfaces that could impede that process of sublimation. If you notice little blue squiggles or little blue dots on your sublimation projects, that is actually dust or debris that has been actually sublimated into your project. So try and get rid of as much of that as possible with a lint roller. Then you're going to need butcher paper. This protects your press from the sublimation ink. So if you're using a flat press, you want to use 1 or 2 pieces of butcher paper at the top and bottom of your project, of your little sublimation sandwich. So you'll have like your butcher paper on the bottom, and then your project, and then your decal taped to your t-shirt or whatever, and then another 2 pieces of butcher paper. That sublimation ink can blow out, it can leach through the paper, and you don't want it getting on your press, so that's the reason we use butcher paper. If you're using a tumbler press or a mug press, you'll want to wrap your mug or tumbler with a piece or 2 of butcher paper for the same reason. Most people buy butcher paper on the rolls, but I like buying it in these flat 12 by 12 sheets. And I'll link to these. These are from Amazon. I find these just so much easier to work with than the roll. Like when you pull it off the roll, it's all curled, and I don't know, I find it such a pain. But this size is absolutely perfect for both a heat press, and then you can actually cut it into thirds and use it for mugs too. So yeah, highly recommend the flat butcher paper. And then finally in the must-have section is a piece of polyester fabric to test with. And if you've ever watched one of my sublimation videos, I go into this all the time. Do not use your expensive blanks for testing, especially if you haven't got your color dialed in. Instead, buy a piece of cheap polyester fabric. I think this is $1 a yard, and then test on it. Just do all of your blanks before you press anything. Just test your image. This is such a cheaper way to do testing than to waste a blank that may cost several dollars. Sometimes I'll see people who are like, I ruined 12 tumblers, and I'm like, oh, why did you do that? Like, step back. Like, let's not keep trying the tumblers, which are very expensive, when we can work on getting our color correct on a piece of polyester. So head to your local craft store. I think it's $1 a yard, maybe $1.50 a yard, and grab yourself some polyester to test with. So heat-resistant tape, a lint roller, butcher paper, and polyester to test with are all my must-haves. Like, these are things that if you're just starting out in sublimation, you should definitely go out and get. Now let's look at the things that are just nice to have. Like I said, I use the lint roller to clean my blanks, but I also really like alcohol and cotton swabs for hard blanks. Sometimes we get sort of the oils in our fingers and things can get on our blanks. And I find that the alcohol and the cotton swabs do a better job than the lint roller. The lint roller will work, but this works better. So this is very cheap. Get yourself a bottle at your local drugstore, some cotton swabs or a microfiber cloth, and this is a great way to clean those hard blanks like tumblers and mugs and those sorts of things. Another helpful thing to have are heat-resistant gloves. I would almost put these in the must-have list because I don't want you to burn yourself, but again, these are not very expensive and you can get them on Amazon, but this means that you can pull something out of your heat press without losing your fingerprints. I think everybody who started sublimation has at one point or another burned themselves, and this can save you a lot of pain. Having a heat-resistant pad is also helpful for when you're pulling things out of your press. This is especially good for things like tumblers and mugs. You can actually pull it out of your press and just set it on this heat-resistant mat. So this is just a Cricut Easy Press mat. It works pretty well. I also have a wool mat that I really like that's actually a little bit sturdier, and I actually like it a little bit more, but it's really big, so I brought this one here today. You just need a place that's safe so you don't like end up with burn marks in your table when you pull things out of your press. I mentioned the heat-resistant tape earlier, and this is another option. So this is basically an adhesive spray that attaches your decal to your transfer to your blank. I don't use it on everything, but I find it works really well, especially on small blanks like ornaments. You can also do it on t-shirts and things. It's not cheap, and shipping can be a little tricky depending on what state you live in. I think there are rules around it, but I actually really love this stuff and I use it a lot. So if you're doing a lot of sublimation, this might be a good investment for you. Next up is pressing pillows. So these are designed to lift up your garment when you're doing a flat press so that you get an even press without having to deal with the seams. So for example, if I was doing like a baby bodysuit onesie, I would slide this into the onesie with the seams on either side so that my press can come in full contact with that transfer where the seams end up below the edges of the pillow. These are really great because sometimes those seams can really get in the way of a really good flat press on your project. They come in a variety of sizes. I got a big pack on Amazon. I would really like to at some point make some of my own using silicone, I guess this is like silicone almost fabric, and then you can just sew them around a little bit of foam. Because I have some sizes that they don't actually make, so maybe someday I'll do a tutorial on how to make your own pressing pillows. But for now, you can get some on Amazon, or Heat Transfer Warehouse also has a really high quality bundle of pressing pillows that are really great, especially if you're doing apparel. If you're doing hard blanks like tiles or slate or some ornaments, you're gonna want one of these little green rubber pads. I'm not gonna lie, this little guy is expensive. I think he was $40, which seems really silly to pay $40 for a piece of rubber. But what it does is it conducts the heat through the rubber to your hard blank without breaking it. So let's say you have a ceramic ornament. If you just do the normal sublimation sandwich with you have the pad of your heat press at the bottom, some sublimation paper, the ornament, the transfer, and then a couple sheets of butcher paper, that is a hard heat plate coming up against the hard ornament, and it is a recipe for cracking your ornament. So instead you can use this little rubber pad. It actually conducts heat. It gets very hot. So if you put this on top of the ornament, the heat press platen has a little bit of give there, but the heat still gets through there, but it won't crack your ornament. So this is a really good investment if you're making sort of breakable items. Again, it's a little expensive, but it's definitely worth it. And then finally, there is this Nomex pad, which is basically just a really thick piece of felt. It's useful in a bunch of different ways. Again, it's kind of an investment. It's not the cheapest thing, but it works really well in the bottom of a convection oven when you don't want your blank coming into contact with the grill inside the oven. You can put this in the oven. You can also use it as a pressing mat. I used it with my Easy Press. I really like it in the bottom of my Cricut AutoPress. The mat that comes with it tends to be a little squishy. This is a little bit more sturdy, so it creates a much more solid base for like harder blanks like ornaments and tiles like I mentioned before. So this is a good investment if you do a lot of sublimation, but probably not the thing you want to buy first. And that's it. I hope you found this video of sublimation supplies helpful. If you have questions about any of these supplies, I would be happy to answer them in the comments. If you found this video interesting or helpful, I would love it if you would give it a like. Subscribe to my channel for more sublimation content. I'll see you next week.